Something interesting has been happening at Google DeepMind, the lauded AI company bought by Google in 2010. On the one hand, they've just had an extraordinary breakthrough with AlphaGeometry, doing things that were considered out of reach until very recently, which we'll dive into shortly. But at the same time that all of this is going on, there's talk of key senior staff leaving to set up a rival AI firm. But why would these scientists choose now to go it alone? We'll take a look at that in this video, but first let's look at what this incredible AlphaGeometry breakthrough was. AlphaGeometry is a groundbreaking AI system developed by Google DeepMind. If you notice, their products tend to start with alpha, like AlphaFold for protein folding, AlphaCode for coding contests, AlphaGo for playing Go, and so on. AlphaGeometry is designed to tackle complex geometry problems similar to those found in the International Mathematics Olympiad, a competition for top high school mathematics students. Now consider the common problem of basic reasoning being difficult for LLMs, such that they can produce complex prose and essays but struggle with fairly rudimentary mathematics. That's because they are, as their name suggests, large language models. They are trained on large amounts of text. This text will of course contain maths, but mathematical reasoning is very different to predicting prose, and this can lead to errors in precise calculations, which are fundamental to mathematics. AlphaGeometry employs a neuro-symbolic approach, combining a neural language model with a symbolic deduction engine. This dual system integration mirrors human problem solving by using intuition and logical reasoning. The language model suggests potentially useful geometric constructs, while the symbolic engine applies formal logic to deduce solutions. To use a programming analogy, it's a bit like someone who is a low-level programmer programming a solution, but a product manager sitting next to them giving them ideas on what kind of solution might best solve the customer's problem. The remarkable result is that AlphaGeometry managed to perform at solving geometry problems at an Olympiad level. It managed to solve 25 out of 30 IMO level problems within the standard time limit, a feat that sets a new benchmark in the field of AI and mathematics. Another key innovation was the training method that involved generating nearly 500 million random geometric diagrams and 100 million synthetic proofs and their theorems. This synthetic data helped train the language model, allowing AlphaGeometry to predict useful geometric constructs and advance towards solutions in complex problems. The use of synthetic data is key here, because often you'll hear people talk about the limitations of AI being likely centered around the achievements of humanity, because that's all they have to be trained on. But the use of synthetic data could push that boundary. The ability of AlphaGeometry to solve complex geometry problems demonstrates significant progress in AI's reasoning and problem-solving capabilities. Now, whenever we look at these breakthroughs, I like to imagine a little further into the future. After all, it's not about now, but about the trajectory. Now, with AlphaGeometry's methods, I suspect that one possible logical next step would be to apply these methods to other fields, such as computer vision, architecture, theoretical physics, wherever geometric or even mathematical problem solving is crucial. And the possibilities of what that could look like are really fun to imagine. And if you want to dig a little bit deeper into AlphaGeometry, then this is a good place to start on Google DeepMind's website. But you can also look at the paper published in the Nature journal that goes into quite a lot of detail. Furthermore, you can look at the code on GitHub, and I'll include a link to this in the description below. Before we look at who's leaving DeepMind, it's worth reminding ourselves a bit about DeepMind itself. DeepMind was founded in London in 2010, yes, that's 14 years ago, by Demis Hassabis, Shane Legg, and Mustafa Suleyman. The company's primary goal was to create general-purpose algorithms and develop AI that could learn to solve complex problems without explicitly being programmed for them. 5 years later, in 2015, DeepMind made headlines when it developed AlphaGo, an AI system that defeated a world champion Go player. This was a significant achievement because Go is a highly complex game, much more complex than, say, chess. It requires intuitive thinking and strategy. This achievement really stamped DeepMind's capabilities in reinforcement learning. In 2014, DeepMind was acquired by Google for around $500 million. This move was part of Google's broader strategy to invest in AI and integrate advanced AI capabilities into its products and services. Post-acquisition, DeepMind has continued to operate as a separate entity within Alphabet Inc., Google's parent company. It's interesting to note that the beating of a Go-playing world champion was a year later in 2015. No doubt some of that compute resource from Google's deep pockets would have helped. DeepMind Health launched in 2016, aimed at applying AI to healthcare to help clinicians make faster and more accurate diagnoses. Although the initiative faced scrutiny regarding patient data privacy, it led to significant collaborations, including work with the UK's NHS, or National Health Service, to improve healthcare operations and research. They have also done groundbreaking work with AlphaFold for accurate protein structure prediction, a highly complex process that can have massive ramifications for healthcare and drug research. DeepMind has also actively been involved in AI safety and ethics research. The company has set up an ethics and society unit to explore and address real-world impacts of AI technologies and ensure that they're developed and used responsibly. So that's DeepMind, now Google's AI wing. So with all the success they've achieved and all the resources they have available from Google, why are people leaving and who are they? Now, there's been numerous articles about this, but the report came from this Bloomberg article, which is behind a paywall. So in terms of who's leaving, well, there's thought to be two groups of people who are departing. In the first group, we have Laurent Siffre and Carl Tools. At least I think that's how you pronounce his surname. Now, they are in talks to leave and start a new AI startup based in Paris. Supposedly, Laurent and Carl have already given notice and had discussions with investors to raise an approximate and rumored $220 million. Now, these guys are not low-level employees. Siffre contributed to the AlphaGo paper that led to beating the AlphaGo champion, and Tools has worked on research into game theory and multi-agent reinforcement learning, a branch of AI that explores interactions between autonomous actors, often through video games. Now, little seems known about the AI startup. It's rumored to be called Holistic and based in Paris, not to be confused with holisticai.com based in London. Now, if I was Holistic AI, I'd be slightly miffed about a new AI startup also called Holistic, with people departing from DeepMind. And supposedly the goal of Holistic, not Holistic AI, is to create a model of their own. Another article mentions that separately, 3 Google researchers working on AI projects have left to launch Uncharted Labs' AI startup. It mentions the reason for leaving being around bureaucratic delays in launching their AI products. According to the article, they have raised $8.5 million out of a $10 million target. They've met with potential investors, including the well-known Andreessen Horowitz. Another company, Mistral AI, which was also co-founded by a former DeepMind employee, has recently raised over $400 million with a massive valuation of $2 billion. Separately, a non-profit called QTI, at least I think that's how it's pronounced, an AI research lab, was started in November with $300 million in startup funding. Again, no small amount. Now, interestingly for me, we can set the scene or backdrop to these departures amid the wider scope of layoffs at Google. These charts do paint a really interesting picture. You can see here that they laid off 1,000 folks in just 2024, and we're not that far into the new year. Now, Google let go of 12,000 employees at the start of the year in 2023. Now, according to this same article, Google may lay off 30,000 employees across its ad sales division. Now, if this isn't AI taking jobs, I don't know what is, even if it is indirectly in the form of budget going to AI jobs rather than non-AI jobs. Now, I'm not suggesting that the departures that we've discussed are in any way related to these job losses. These job losses would partially be about the shift of funding and energy away from traditional roles towards AI. So in terms of why the scientists and researchers left, if you look at Y Combinator, you can see speculation about all kinds of reasons, from people talking about the fact that shares of the wider Alphabet group wouldn't grow at the rate of the shares had they been completely separate entities. They could experience much higher growth if they were running smaller separate operations. There's talk about startup culture in European companies versus American companies and leadership problems, and the kind of work environment that people want to work in. There's more discussion over at Reddit with people suggesting that the problem might be with leadership. For me, that's quite interesting. I personally really don't know, except that if people are talented, they will likely have a lot of ideas about what they want to do. If they know their worth and they think there is an opportunity there, and they know with their background that they'll have absolutely no trouble raising funds, then why wouldn't you? So to conclude, AlphaGeometry made less noise than the Gemini announcement, but this is in my opinion quite impressive. AI can do some very complex tasks easily, but fumbles on some of the most basic when needing to do anything that resembles real reasoning. This is why you'll often see memes and jokes about how ridiculous it is that AI could take your jobs. Whilst these jokes hide the reality that AI can contribute to many genuinely complex tasks very well, the importance of this basic mathematical reasoning cannot be overstated in the march towards AI supremacy. AI is the current battleground, and DeepMind have shown that they are still an important player in this space. Alright, so let me know what you think about AlphaGeometry. Is it really that impressive? And what do you think about the reasons for these folks leaving DeepMind? Is it a trend or just a blip? And if you don't want to be the last to know about important AI, tech, and programming news, then be sure to hit subscribe. Thank you for watching.